We did this last year, and we're bringing it back because if it ain't broke, don't fix it. These are 2023 Halloween picks, and these are classics. So there might be some overlap from before, but I feel like it's always good to revisit and go through. So I was thinking we could do like you tell one, I'll tell one, and
Okay. Yeah.
whatever you think.
And I didn't even look at last year's list, so I'm sure there's repeats. So
It was all Arthur 2 on the rocks.
Yeah. So I decided to take Arthur 2 and like let me be a little nicer to that movie. So and some of these are just my go-to classics. So because I think that's how you that's what you called it. So obviously Poltergeist immediately came to mind. And you asked to pick out a favorite scene, and this was a little tricky because I kind of picked the finale in general because I just like how it keeps ramping up and whatever.
Sure.
But a particular scene, and this is more of a moment, one of my favorite shots continues to be where Diane has just gotten out of the pool and she runs back upstairs to get the kids, and they do this great reverse rack focus of her going down looking at the hallway, and the hallway just gets longer and longer and longer through the rack focus. So one of my favorite shots, one of my favorite scenes. And also when I go to some hotels, I just picture that's exactly what
it stays in your mind.
Of kind of how they did that. So I haven't seen too many behind the scenes of how they shot that. Obviously they built a huge extended hallway and did some rack focus, but it is just one of my favorite shots.
That is a great shot for sure. And I was lucky enough. Robert took me. We were blessed to go to that location this past year, which was awesome.
The Poltergeist house, yes.
The Poltergeist house.
Always worth a visit.
Yeah, no, it's very cool. That is definitely a classic. I have Children of the Corn, which I always kick off my Halloween viewing with. Not this year though. I broke it with Halloween 2 and Jason.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
But I guess in October. October, it'll be Children of the Corn. So this movie's okay. We both agree. Some might argue with it being a classic, but I think it's a classic. It's a Stephen King 84 original work, based on his original work. It's, it's scary. My favorite scene, that's not a funny one because there's so many great one-liners in there that aren't supposed to be funny.
Yeah.
But at the abandoned city hall, when they go in there and they see it's empty and they're looking around, the phones are dead. It's just an eerie, The Stand kind of vibe. Like, what's going on here? So probably that or the diner scene in the opening. But yeah.
Peter Horton kicking around. What happened here? Is it supposed to be a year later? I can't remember.
I think it is based on some of the stuff.
Gotcha. Which, and then sometimes, sometimes there's like just actual skeletons. I'm like, well, I don't know if they would decompose that fast, but
definitely some inconsistencies with the aging and the decomposition.
Non-aging kids, and that town quickly fell apart.
Immediately.
Yes.
How about yourself?
So I always go back when I think of classic, Carrie, the 1976 original. So that was what freaked me out as a kid, and I still
it is the classic.
Everything about it, and it's just obviously more of an emotional movie and kind of. But for favorite scene, I think because it sticks out, and you just don't see this anymore. But as soon as the split screen starts, and sometimes I forget about the split screen, and when I go back to the 40th anniversary of the screening, seeing that on the big screen and the screen splitting in half and these things I just like it was a new experience for me. So and that's just kind of I just like the way they did that. So
Brian De Palma, did a great job. I do like the split screen when they do that. That is a great movie. Carrie really is. I have House on Haunted Hill.
The new one?
The original.
Or the original. Okay.
I do like the remake. I do like the remake. With Chris Kattan in his finest role next to Night at the Roxbury. So the original is Vincent Price. There's so many great scenes. And for a 1959 film, I feel like it especially did a really good job. I guess my favorite scene is Nora when she's chased into the basement by Annabelle's ghost. It's not only scary being chased by a ghost in these crazy old houses, but when she has to like go into the basement, as you know, there's really no way out unless there's like a storm door or something.
Yeah.
But in that house, it was a good thrill. So
it's a good dread moment. And there's some
yeah,
others. Now that you say that, is obviously I immediately also thought of Blair Witch Project, where you're going into a
yeah,
dead end, literally. Like this is
yeah,
it. So, but yeah. So and when I kind of go through my list, I was picking more dread moments uh,
yeah.
versus
No, you
like
you
yeah,
nailed it. If that's where
yeah,
you were going, for
yeah.
sure.
So, but yeah, 100% agree. I haven't watched that in a while. I feel like I should pop that on. So I'll pop that on this Halloween season for you.
Oh, good call. Yeah, we'll watch it together.
Yeah.
We'll do
So,
a we'll queue it up at the same time right before we watch Halloween Kills.
we're doing a double feature with Arthur 2.
Yes, Arthur too.
We cover all of the bases.
All the classics. What was your next one, Sarah?
Yeah. So speaking of dread, The Descent.
Oh, yeah.
So I saw this in the theater, and it was one of those. I felt myself, I'm not hugging myself and down in my seat. I don't. I quickly realized might have some claustrophobia. Those closed spaces. When they had to go, the scene in particular. There's two in particular, but I called out for our podcast. But when they have to kind of go under the water to get to the next whatever, and they can, and then right after they have to barely wiggle through that. That's
Oh,
my nightmare of being
oh yeah.
stuck.
Oh,
And
me
I
too.
just,
Like
yeah,
worst thing that could happen to me.
yeah, being stuck somewhere, and that's it, whatever. So,
Yeah.
not and less dread is that kind of first reveal where they find the monster. I'll say, for lack of a better word, and so forth, was freaked me out. And yeah, just the whole movie, and especially the way end, or I guess the original ending, where she is stuck down there forever. And it's just
Oh
like
gosh,
it was just
it's such
awful.
a
Yeah,
thrill. That is those are some very dreadful moments.
yeah. So,
The
so
reveal for sure, but when they're in the caves and those tight spaces, and it's like, what if you miscalculate?
mhm,
Oh, oh, I
yeah.
can't even. I can't.
Yeah, so I don't revisit that often because it freaks me out, to be honest. So
Yeah, no, it is. It
yeah,
good call on that.
yeah. I got to meet Neil Marshall and his wife. They did a couple horror conventions
Oh,
not too soon
cool.
after this came out. So, but he didn't do as well. I mean, he did a couple things, but he has not quite. He never hit it as
No,
well as he did with The Descent. But
like he did Hellboy, but that didn't do anything.
no, yeah. So
Good call on meeting him. That's cool though.
what do you have
Uh,
next?
Next, I have The Fog, the original, of course,
Oh, not the remake.
not
What?
the
I
remake.
just.
Hey, what was Carpenter's involvement in the remake? Did he produce it with
Oh, I
Deborah
think you just
Hill?
got to check. I think Deborah Hill might have had a little involvement in the beginning, but then I think it was just like
She passed
at
away.
this point, if Carpenter, yeah, was like, if you want to pay me, that's fine. I don't care what trash you make.
Yeah, he didn't have any hands on.
Yeah, and on one point, he's right. He's like, people won't uh care. If you make it super crappy, it'll just make mine look better. And if it's great, fantastic, more money for him. So
Yeah, good call.
yeah,
I
so
like it. That's a good way
uh,
to look at it as well.
yeah. So what scene did you pick out?
So this was kind of on par with yours. There with the poltergeist. I didn't really know what to do, but I do like the church scene slash ending. Just the spoiler alert, the reveal when they're inside the church, and you already have that kind of claustrophobic feel of fog creeping in on you, but then you realize like the dead pirates or whatever they are, they're
Yeah.
in there, fishermen, and they're yeah, the eyes and everything. That's always a good scare.
Yeah.
It was a toss between that or the opening when the fog is creeping in and
Oh,
it's
yeah.
showing. I don't know. It's cool.
Yeah.
I like that movie a lot. I think Jamie Lee Curtis does a great job in there, and I love your page on that too.
I
So,
haven't been to too many, and obviously that church is 2 blocks from the Halloween 2 hopping scene.
oh, is it really?
Yeah, they literally, if you go up, as if you follow
We need
those
to go to
kids,
Sierra Madre.
if you go those kids for 2 more blocks, you will see the fog church. So, which I still love. Fans know where this is, but movie magic. They're in Northern California as they drive up, to the church, and they frame it in such a way this church still looks like it's in the middle of nowhere, but it's just literally off Main Street in
It's
Sierra Madre.
amazing.
Yeah,
Movie magic.
movie magic.
Well, and the music too is good in the
Oh yeah.
fog. Yeah. Are you a fog fan?
I am not a huge, like, there's some people that are really into it. So
Yeah.
at the time I was like, it's no Halloween. But
No, it's
yeah,
not.
so it's grown on me. And but Mrs. Colbrit's
This is cold, Brits.
um And I love Adrienne Barbeau.
Yeah.
And
Oh
her,
my.
yeah. And
Yes,
used to,
indeed,
I was like,
Henry. Yes, indeed.
who is listening to this music? You're listening to KAB. Is it KAB? I think, yeah. It's like literally put everybody to sleep. But it was like, like it was like, who is listening to this music?
I can't visit or see a lighthouse though without thinking
Yeah,
of the fog now.
yeah.
I just can't.
But
And
my
that's
God, she
okay.
had some great calves going up and down those stairs.
Going up and down the stairs.
I was just like not complaining one iota that that's her work, getting to work. Yeah.
I feel like Omaha needs a restaurant called the Lighthouse. It's kind of kitsch. You know, there's no reason to have a lighthouse there, but there is, and it's a big tower, and you live in that tower collecting
Yeah.
money.
And then you can have an Adrienne Barbeau doing
Adrienne
constant.
Barbeau, constant.
Yeah.
I loved her in Creep Show. I mean, amongst everything.
You can call her Billy.
She was
She's
just so
fantastic.
bad. I mean, she's great, but you
Yeah.
hated the
Oh yeah.
character.
So she'll be at the Halloween convention next weekend as well. So
Nice, nice.
she had a bit part. It might have been deleted. I can't remember if it was or not. But in Halloween, Rob Zombie's Halloween. But
Oh, okay. How about yourself? What was your next one?
Halloween itself.
Never heard of
So
it. What is
yeah,
it?
you may be familiar. It's a little known film directed by a guy named John Carpenter.
I'll have to look out for that.
So obviously I've seen it too many times, but I remember when the first time I saw it as a 11-year-old, when Laurie's banging on the house and they're like, "Can't you hear me?" And she's, "Oh God!" And she starts running across the street and banging
Oh
on back
yeah.
of the house. And then you see his shadow kind of come around the house, and they keep cutting
Oh
back. That she's like, "Let me," trying to get Tommy in, and cutting back and forth, and he's like getting so close. And I remember feeling so freaked out that he's gonna get her. So
yeah,
that's what.
yeah. No, it does get you.
Yeah.
Um. Oh, such a classic. Is Halloween the number one horror movie of all time, Robert?
I did well. People, I don't know. I'm sure
People say
people.
Clown House, but
I almost put Clown House on here, but I thought
oh,
no. Uh, I'll give it. While we're talking about, I'll give honorable mention to Clown House because it did freak me out.
I
With
know. That's what sticks with me is that it
the
scared you.
my friend Ellie, she's probably not listening because the scene that freaked me out was like they have this kind of slow whatever. Usually in the movies where they can like hear something and do this slow thing and nothing's there. Here, this kid does the slow whatever, and the clown is actually right there. And I was like, what the fuck? And then
Yeah.
they kind of look at each other, and all of a sudden the clown just starts running at him, and I was just been like,
Oh yeah.
freaking out in the theater. And then there's a couple scenes like that where the clowns are just in the background in the shadows and they're too close and it like freaked me out.
Yeah.
There was there's some scene in the barn where I think it was one of those fake jump scares where a rooster jumps out, or something like that. It was kind of this version of a cat jumping out of nowhere or a cat getting thrown by the cat the grips.
Yeah.
But in the theater I just like jumped out of my seat. And I remember my friend's
Oh,
like,
it's a
it's a
great jump
she's like,
scare.
it's a fucking rooster. Like, calm down.
But it's scary.
Why are you so scared? And I swear to God, there was like junior high girls in front of us making fun of me because I was so scared through this movie.
Hey, it jumps at you. It's
I know.
scary.
I was.
I watched Clown House on your recommendation, or at
Yeah.
least a good portion of it on YouTube, and those scenes you're talking about do break the traditional rules. They just start running at you, and it's like what, to a degree, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original, does. It just comes running out with a chainsaw. It just gets you, and like it is, he's a clown. Like it's scary.
Yeah.
I put Halloween as well, and the first time I saw it,
Rob Zombie's Halloween.
the only one worth mentioning, of course. She's great. She's got a great dumper. Remember that? I'm like, he was such trash. William Forsythe's character.
Yes.
Who I love, but and he did play such a great white trash guy. But Halloween, when Laurie sees Michael across the street, under the patio, under the light.
Yeah.
And then she looks back and he's gone. First time I saw the movie, it got me. I always loved that. I remember the first time I saw the movie, I was in junior high. I might have been 8th grade, and I watched it with a bunch of people from school. Some people I didn't know, and I remember questioning, how can he drive if
He was doing very well last night.
right. And I was like, how could he? Yeah, they addressed that. How could he drive?
Yeah.
He doesn't have a license. And some kid was like, what happened was they filmed it and the director said cut, and it's just a movie. So you shouldn't really think too much into it. I was like, great. I'll see you
Smart
working at
ass
the
kids.
Denny's in 10 years, asshole.
Aren't you funny?
There was a bunch of band kids, so I didn't expect much. I was in a rock band, so they were probably jealous of my fire.
Yeah.
But
And now those band kids were the bad kids in Halloween Ends. See?
right, this is
It all
true.
comes full circle.
But I will say, yeah, that scene where the shape is across, and it always got me, and that really is a great shot.
Because I think all of these that were kind of like could happen versus maybe not Poltergeist, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, for sure. So it sticks with you. I haven't watched Halloween yet this year. I'm actually going to save this, I think, for like Halloween.
Gotcha. Yeah, I don't know. Well, we'll see. I'm sure it'll show up at some point. So the next one I pick is The Strangers. Which same thing. It's obviously it's a small movie. There's like these kind of other things, like probably the original concept of Michael Myers, like nobody knows why they're doing this or what their line in here is, because you were home. That's enough, and that's where it could become a reality where somebody could be creeping around your house, whatever. And then obviously my favorite scene is the one that actually ended up being in the poster, where it's quiet scene and Liv is kind of looking around and the tall stranger just appears in the background and you're like, get out, like there's
yeah. Oh, that gets you. Yeah, and
Yeah.
and when you're watching the movie and you're thinking like this could really happen, you could be out in the middle of nowhere, and it makes me want to get a gun and vote Republican.
No,
just kidding. But it is creepy. That shot it is scary.
But and they kind of build up because like you can only do that so many times. So I think they did a good job with that one. So, but
yeah, for sure.
And I won't repeat my story of that why I would make a final girl after we watched that movie. But we'll move on. So.
Oh no! Do you want to tell?
I think I've told you about that. Yeah, the first time we saw The Strangers, I used to have Monday night movie nights, and so friends come over and we watch the movie. And so after the movie, it's a good movie. Everybody's like, bye, whatever. And then my sister kind of tooling around. Just a few minutes later, we hear this thing on the our back door, like somebody scraping or something like that. And we're like, and so I get on my phone because I thought it was Trent. I'm like, and I walked out the front because I was going to walk around the house. I was like, Trent, I know what you're doing, and I could hear he's like, what? And I could hear he's somewhere else completely else. I hear other noise or whatever. He's like, I'm long gone. And I was like, oh, and I like ran back in the house, so I would apparently not make a final girl because I'm one of those checking
you
out
have said that, told me that. I forgot
noises
though, but
in the middle of the night, so
I
like to think of myself as a Laurie Strode, but apparently
you could pull it off.
Apparently I'm the Linda. I don't know.
Apparently you're who's the chick in Friday the 13th Part 3? The hippie? Chili.
Yeah.
No. What was it though, do you think?
I don't know. And then we're like, I ran back in because I locked the door. My sister's like, it's not Trent. And we're like looking or whatever. He didn't figure out what it was, but it could have been just leaves or something like that. But I was just like freaking out. But anyway.
That is creepy.
That's the stranger story. And
yeah.
Robert does not learn his lessons from movies.
I have the Amityville Horror. I think we can all agree it's a classic.
Which one? The Ryan Reynolds?
Sorry. The one with Burt Young. It's the second one. Zest. Whatever. Amityville Horror is I think is a great classic Halloween horror movie. I mean, my favorite scene is not a scene of terror. It's a comedic scene that I quote too much. And with my friend Mike, and we constantly spoof this movie any year round. It's just so great. James Brolin, there's a character where there's a scene where the wedding caterer character, he loses the money, as you know, in the house, and he's just like, I want cash. Cash doesn't bounce. Checks bounce. Checks aren't cash. James Brolin goes, now I'm going to write you a check. and that's gonna be good, or you're gonna be eating your own damn wedding cake. And he's so disgruntled and disheveled, and this guy's just like, okay, okay. But
I
yeah,
think that's why Streisand, she probably saw that and she was, that's the man
that's
for
it.
me. He's
That's the
not gonna,
breaking.
yeah, yeah.
That's the
Uh,
breaking straw.
so it is one of those, like, it's kind of, now we look back at it and it's like, oh, kind of kitschy movie or whatever, but great soundtrack. Sounds a little bit like Children of the Corn.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the same person, I'm not sure. It clips along. And my favorite scary, it's not on my list, but my favorite moment in that always jars me and freaks me out because it takes me off guard. So the realtor is showing the house, and she goes, "Oh, it could be a nursery," like in which I met her at the Hollywood show, and she passed away like a couple months after. I think it was like not too. She's Saved by the Bell from Back to the Future gal.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean, not Saved by the Bell. Save the Clock Tower.
Yeah, right.
That same person. But anyway, so she's going through the house, and all of a sudden it freeze frames for like a second, and you're like, is something wrong with the film or DVD? And then it does that flashback to the original murders and stuff of the DeFeos and so forth. But that
Oh
always
yeah.
literally takes me out because the way they kind of edit it. So
Yeah, good call on that. Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying.
or the wedding caterer scene.
Of course, you have to. Yeah, that's
That's all people
absolutely.
talk about. It was on the Oscars.
I need more to chop more wood. How about you? What's your next one, sir?
I put the Texas Chainsaw 2003 remake.
Oh my, my, my,
I
my.
love the way it looks. Oh, I love her.
Oh, she's the best. Oh
Yes.
my, 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 my.
Um, I love the way it looks. It's just it's like a sweaty, smelly, grimy movie, but it's also
Oh, you can smell it.
beautifully shot. Daniel Pearl was cinematographer from the original one that they brought back, and obviously it takes place the same time period, but totally different look and feel. It's just kind of this great palette, which I like. So, um, uh, the scene I called, there's a lot of scenes I kind of like the way it looks or whatever, like get out of my house, and it's just like
Yeah, yeah,
the
yeah.
tension starts kind of ramping up, and it's about to happen. And so I just kind of like the tension from that, where he's like banging on the floor. So
Oh yeah, that's
uh,
a great scene.
yeah, so I love that movie. I thought that was the way to do a remake. I thought they did it pretty well. It also has one of the best teaser trailers, where it's almost completely dark and it's just a girl you
Yeah.
hear running around screaming and whatever in chainsaw, and that was enough to. That's where it's like, oh, this is what you don't need to see everything, like Now, granted, this movie you saw so much more blood than you actually saw in the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Oh
But
yeah, yeah.
anyway, I
Yeah,
love it.
I like Jessica Biel in the movie. I enjoy 2003 so much.
Yeah.
It is sweaty and grimy, and yeah, it's good.
What do you have next?
I have The Shining, which we've talked about before, and my
The
favorite
TV version or the
TV,
movie?
the TV version, of course. Who was in the TV version again?
From Wings.
Yeah, yeah.
I just forgot his name. Steven.
He didn't have a fair shot though.
Not quite. I mean, yeah. I don't know.
I mean, it could
I
have been
know.
a
I
lot
knew what they were
more.
trying. They're trying to get back to
The book.
the book and so
And
forth.
they succeeded with the plants and things like that to a degree, the shrubbery and whatnot,
Yeah.
but you can't. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was an unfair shake.
Yeah. Steven Weber. But yeah,
Steven Weber,
he did
right?
the best he could. Yep. So
Did the best he could.
yeah.
My favorite scene is just like Amityville Horror. Another scene that's hilarious to me is, and when they tried to do my duty, I had to correct them, sir, because it's not quite an English accent. You don't really
Yeah.
know what it is. It's like, it's just, I love that character. Grady, is it? No, it's not Grady. It's I forget his
I
name,
think it
but
is. Yeah. But
maybe it is Grady. Yeah,
yeah.
Grady.
I think they call him a couple different names if I remember. In the
Right.
movie. But yeah. But and obviously that red bathroom and.
Oh, the red bathroom. Just the sets in that movie alone are beautiful. They're breathtaking, and the silence, the music and the noise from the ballroom, and the awkwardness and the right amount of pauses. I love that whole sequence from the gold room into the bathroom. Just let me get that for you, sir. Like very
Mhm.
detailed, but the corrected, I just love saying that.
I
So
know you.
I love that
That's.
movie.
I know you
But
say it at least once a day in real life, so
I had to
I
correct
know
himself.
you do.
But it
Um,
is a classic.
it
So
is, and I don't know. I'm sure somebody has kind of made their men's bathroom all red like that. I know Hannibal the series they kind of recreated that set
oh,
for one of
okay.
their scenes as well. So, but yeah, so it's
I
just
love the hotel bathrooms, the green like 80s,
oh yeah,
when like that whole scene. I just yeah, I love the decor. The
yeah.
penis is on the rug, like everything. I wish I could live there. By the way, you've been to that film festival,
Well,
haven't you?
I went to the exterior where they shot the exteriors, or actually just establishing
The
shots of the
Overlook
overlook.
in
Yeah,
Oregon,
yeah,
right?
yeah. So
Yeah.
the interiors, a lot of the interiors were based more on it's out at Yellowstone,
Yeah.
where it looks almost exactly the same. The kind
I've
of
seen the
the great, yeah,
interiors, the Native
um,
American
yeah,
place.
yeah, which would be kind of nice to
The
go. But obviously,
lodge.
it was all set. So
Yeah.
if you've not taken a look, I think it's on DVD and I think it's on the Blu-rays, but I think it's on YouTube. So Stanley Kubrick's daughter did her own behind the scenes movie at the time. She was young; she might have still been a teenager. And
Oh,
so,
cool.
if you haven't seen it, it is worth a watch because we look at it as a classic, and here you have your first kind of behind the scenes glimpses, of Jack Nicholson's dressing room, and he's brushing his teeth or whatever, and just getting just not kind of like we would get ready for our next meeting, like, all right, what do I, nothing to whatever, and he's just walking down to the set because this is work.
Yeah, yeah.
And then the camera's just going through. What's weird for me is like randomly people are standing around. There's boxes around these super iconic sets, of The Shining. That if you worked in it, and I don't know, it'd just be weird for me to be like, you are on a super iconic horror movie, whatever, and you don't realize that you're just taking all this for granted that you're kind of walking around the Shining set, and then
Right,
you
you're
walk,
not thinking about it, but
yeah,
it's like, wow, moment in time. If you can freeze that, look where you
yeah,
are.
and then later she's like they're trying to figure out like, oh, here's the back entrance to the maze, and so they're kind of walking through, and it was just like I can't imagine what it'd be like just to be in the middle
Yeah.
of that set.
Oh, could you imagine?
Yeah, no, that's why it's just like
Yeah.
one year Universal Halloween Horror Nights did Shining, and they did a good job of recreating some of those sets.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
I wish I saw that. That would be cool.
yeah. I wish they'd go back to the more iconic ones, and
Yeah.
rather than doing their made up characters and stuff like that. But
Right.
yeah,
Right. Yeah. No, for sure. I will check that out though. Stanley
yeah,
Kubrick's
yeah,
daughters.
yeah.
Doc.
Um, I'll skip the next one, but my the this is a double movie. When a Stranger Calls
You didn't
and
want
When
to
a
do
Stranger
Nightmare on Elm Street. You're wearing the
Well,
costume.
I'll talk about that now because if we're going to go talk about the Elm Street series, but
Good
I'll end
call.
on that. How about that? So when a
Touche.
stranger calls and when a stranger calls back, both opening scenes are some of my favorite scenes in movies. So the original When a Stranger Calls, of course, have you check the children and uh, uh, looking up, and there actually is you do see a light, the door open or whatever. There actually is somebody in the house, and there's just like, uh,
Oh,
yeah,
so
it was
creepy.
chilling, and obviously it was kind of urban legends come to life.
I was just gonna say, like urban. Yeah. Yeah. It nails it.
Yeah, so great scene. And then when they did When a Stranger Calls Back in '93 or '4. Yeah, I was like, well, how are they going to beat that? And I
That's the one
remember
with
that.
Madonna, right?
Which one is like, what?
I'm kidding.
Who's in the? Oh, Jill Schoelen. But so I was like, well, what are they going to? Like, I remember at the time I was in an apartment. I'm like, oh, this will be fine. And of course, later in the movie, the girl's in an apartment. And I was like, no. But same thing. I was just like, how are they going to replicate that? And same thing. People are calling. The windows are open, and you're like, is there somebody in the house? And one of my favorite moments for that is she's going around checking things again, and she goes to double check the back sliding door, and this time it opens,
Oh,
and you're like, and which we all remember, like a few minutes ago it was not, and so she closes it and locks it again, but already you're like, oh my god, what is he here, what now? Yeah, so
yeah. It'll
those,
get you.
and I think because we've had moments too, like like the other day, it was like, I thought I shut the garage, and then an hour later you open it, it's like, oh, it's open, like, what, has this been the whole time?
Yeah, what happened? Now your
who's in the
mind's
house?
playing
Yeah.
games.
Yeah. So both those obviously are chilling. So most of these are dread, but I did put Nightmare on Elm Street, obviously because it's one of my favorites. And then I was kind of big, and after that movie came out, big in kind of dream analysis and trying to control your dreams or whatever. But one of my favorite moments from that is, of course, the gooey stairs, because that was kind of a typical kid
Yes.
nightmare thing where you can't get going and the stairs are now marshmallow and or oatmeal, and you're trying to get through them, whatever. So
Oh
I
yeah.
like that they
It's
kind
so
of,
scary.
part of me is like, I don't know if people have ever like talked about that, but then they kind of threw that in the film, something that is probably people had those similar dreams. So I like that.
Yeah, yeah, things like that,
Yeah.
and will a shark be under my bed? Like stuff
Yeah.
that you would never think is plausible. They threw it in there, which is
Shark in
why.
the pool. I remember
Yeah.
there's a meme out there too, is like that they kind of superimposed, like somebody went diving into the pool and there's a big great white with his mouth just open that they swim into. It's like, it's true, every kid's worst nightmare. Like,
My favorite meme of Nightmare on Elm Street is the Freddy smoking a cigarette, and they go, "I've been chasing dreams so long, people in their dreams so
that's
long, I forgot to chase my own." And he's smoking. And
oh
you remember I sent that to you once, and you were like,
yes,
"Sadly, I've seen some conventions where people were doing that,
that
like
is
not
absolutely
Robert
true.
Englund, but yeah,
Not Robert, yeah, but yeah, you do see weird, like out of character moments for sure. So
right." But so that is Halloween films we recommend, Halloween picks.